Yeah. My phone's off. Okay. Okay. Gamar Tov. Welcome to people live streaming. Welcome people here. Hello, Joel. I miss being able to comment with you, Joel. So Mark's going to read your comments because I'm sure you're going to have them. So there's a handout, I think, online that you can download if you're live streaming. And then if you're in the room, you have it. They're somewhere. Are there extras somewhere? No. Okay, but people are coming in up here. Good. So my goal today is that when we get to Neela, we're going to have a different experience than if you had not been here learning together. Okay? It's a hefty goal. We may reach it, we may not, but I want to give credit to those teachers that helped me create this lesson. One is Rabbi Sachs. He told me to say I borrowed things from him. So I borrowed things. Okay. And so a couple you may recognize. The other person I got is Rabbi Eric Gervis, who's from the Musar Institute. I've been studying with them and I asked permission to take certain things from them. So on the handout, you have 4 quotes. Okay. Who would like to read the first one from Golda Meir? Brenda.
Trust yourself. Create the kind of self that you will be happy to live with all your life. Make the most of yourself by fanning the tiny inner sparks of possibility into flames of achievement.
Okay. Anything about this quote that surprises you, that inspires you, that you want to remark about?
I think it's important. What she said is that you have to feel good about yourself before you can help anybody else or be there for anybody else. If you don't feel good about yourself and do things for you first, then you cannot help anybody.
Excellent, Phil. So Phil said it's feeling good about yourself and working on yourself before you can help anybody else. And that's part of the process that we're going to go through today is cheshbon hanefesh, which is like an account of yourself. Okay. It's a cheshbon can sometimes be like a bill at a restaurant or an account. You can come on in. Come on in. This is a study session at 5. 4:15 is a study session. Okay. Cheshbon is, thank you for your smiles. Cheshbon is usually like a bill or an accounting thing that you get where you look in Israel, okay, this is the item, this is the item. Nefesh is your soul. So this is the time for a lot of Jews, the only time when they do a cheshbon nefesh. They sit on Yom Kippur and they think about all their character flaws or what they want to change. With a cheshbon hanefesh, here, I'm going to hit this. Oh, yeah. Cheshbon hanefesh looks at that kind of thing. What do you want to change? What do you want to do different? Okay. So, Brenda, yes.
I don't know. When she says create the kind of life that you will have to live with all your life, I'm not so through with that for all your life because you change, creating something for now. I understand, but for all my life, I'm not sure about because I've changed.
Excellent. So Brenda, for those of you that are live streaming, Brenda said that she's not so sure about creating that life for all your life because she's changed. And you're right, Brenda, you may not be happy with what or where you were 20 years ago for right now. Okay. And I think that's an excellent point. I mean, if we were all where we were 20 years ago trying to live the life, a lot of people are shaking their head in the room. Like that wouldn't work. That would be very hard. Huh? And I really agree with that. And that's the other piece of Cheshbon HaNefesh today is hope. Okay. So you have this accounting of your soul, and you also have to have hope, tikva. You also have to have both. So we're going to look at that because I don't want you going into Ne'ilah, sitting here saying to yourself, "Ah, I'm such an awful person. You know, my list to change is this long. How is being here at Ne'ilah? You know, if I sit and spend a day thinking about what my life looks like and all I can find are these dark things, that's not the point of it. The point of it is to find those good things and those things you want to change. I don't even call them bad things or negative things. Okay. What we want to change. Neil.
I have another part of this, which is nothing like what's been said.
Okay.
I look at it as nobody's going to change you for you. You have to do the work yourself.
Excellent. Excellent. So Neil said, nobody's going to change you. You have to do the work yourself. And that's the essence of what you can take from Cheshbon HaNefesh today and use it throughout your life. Okay. If you find yourself on a day going, oh, I can't believe this happened. And I can't believe they did this to me. And I can't believe this happened and they didn't understand me. And you do a list, the only common denominator is you and your reaction. Okay. And y'all know me well enough that there's at least one or two that I've been working on all year. And there are days that patience and reactivity, I think I got under control. And then you deal with like home health care, and all of a sudden patience and reactivity doesn't exist. So the goal is to do it more, to find more of what you want. And if you're not happy, you try and change that one little thing that can make a difference. And it's hard sometimes. So one of the questions that I have on there, and I have to look for a minute, is why are we here? Why are we here today? Besides, it's the right thing for a Jewish person to do. Okay.
What are you looking? That's the same thing. Same thing.
No, I got it. Why are we here? Why are you here? I'm going to start picking on people because I can. I don't have to be polite like Rabbi Goldstein, who's very polite.
I need to be. I need it for me.
Why?
It fulfills me.
Okay.
It's my obligation. And it fulfills me and it's my need.
Excellent. Phil said she has to be here for her. It's her obligation for her need. Okay. Excellent. Anybody else? Yeah.
It's what I do. It's what we do.
Okay.
It is what it is. And it's a tradition. I've always been, always will, and that's that.
Okay, so Neil said it's what he does. It's an obligation. It's what he's always done, and it is what it is. Miriam. Okay, why?
To make it through the day, to continue to be part of this and challenge.
Excellent. So Miriam said it's a challenge. It's a challenge to make it through the day, to challenge myself. And challenge is so good. Challenge is part of that hope and that Cheshbon HaNefesh. If you didn't have challenge in your life, most of us wouldn't ever change. Think about that for a minute. If you didn't challenge yourself, you would be satisfied with who you are right now, who you were yesterday. And Rabbi Goldstein has said a quote a number of times, and I'm going to butcher it, but tomorrow I want to be better than I was today. That's what Heshbonas Nefesh is. It doesn't mean that you're an awful person today. It means you just want to be a little bit better. And that's that hope. If any of us thought that we couldn't change or we couldn't be better, we wouldn't be here. You'd kind of give up. And there are periods in our life when we feel that way. I'm looking around the room, and I know pretty much everybody has shared at some point that there were dark days. For all of us, October 7th, 2023 was a very dark day. But we keep trying. And that's what, sometimes that gets lost in Yom Kippur because we're talking about our sins. And if you saw me today, whenever we did the Al-Khait, and if you looked over and you saw me laughing, it wasn't because I'm laughing at the sins, but I remember as a kid, asking my parents, what does that word mean? What did I just say I did? Okay, that's how I learned xenophobia. Okay, xenophobia is in one of the things I was xenophobic. My mom made me go home. I looked up in the dictionary because that's all we had back then. Xenophobia, fear of strangers and treating strangers badly, okay? But there are times that if you look at that list, you think, I don't do any of them. And then if you think a little bit about it, you do a little bit of each of them. But we can come at Neela and not berate ourselves and not say you're a loser, you're an awful person, but say, how am I going to change for next year? So let's look at Rabbi Leo Beck, the second quote. Who would like to read that? Phil?
So many people go through filling the storeroom with their minds with odds and ends of a grudge here, a jealousy there, pettiness, selfishness, all ignoble. The true task of each person is to create a noble memory, a mind filled with grandeur, forgiveness, restless ideals, and the dynamic ethical ferment preached by all religions at their best.
Okay, excellent. So, I'm watching people's reaction to this. I love watching faces. Okay, that's why I like Zoom, seeing people's faces because I can see reactions. Any thoughts on Leo Beck's? Andrea? Restless ideals. What does that mean to people? Neil?
Something that you don't spend much time on, but should.
Right? That's something you don't spend much time on, but should. Miriam?
Perhaps your ideas change, your ideals change.
Yes, your ideals can change. Okay, we're not saying there are certain things that I know in this room that this wouldn't change. Like nobody in this room would say, okay, today I'm deciding I can go out and murder and kill somebody. Okay? Sometimes we've had that thought about people we'd like to, but we don't do it. Okay? Those principles or ideals can't, but other ideals can. And I also look at his, that's kind of that thing where a lot of us are now in. We've had our careers, we did what we thought or needed to do, and now there's all these like ideas or ideals inside of us that we kind of push away. Okay, like, I really would like to write a blog. Okay, nobody's going to listen to me. but it's always in the back of your head. You may have something to say, or I want to go and act. I want to be an actor. And some of us think that, some of us don't put the time in it, some of us doubt it. That's why Leo Beck says honor those. Don't push them away. Say, okay, just honor them, look at them. Okay.
Sounds like challenges.
Yeah, in a way, challenge yourself. Right. Get out of that comfort zone a little bit. What also I think tied into Rabbi Goldstein's sermon today, or Devar Torah, was what we choose to remember. Okay, kind of a little bit. He says here, and if we're all honest with ourselves, we all have that. A grudge here, a jealousy here. Those are kind of in our files, in our minds. And we're human, so we have to have those. If I look around here and somebody says, no, I don't have any, then I want you to spend your Ne'ilah looking at yourself and saying, oh, I kind of do. Those are the things that get in our way. Okay? And Rabbi Beck is saying, forgive. Try and make space. That doesn't mean, and I know this is an old overused saying, you can forgive. Once you forgive does not mean you don't forget. Okay? You still can have that boundary up, that wall, but you have to kind of look at that. And if you do your cheshbon nefesh tonight, and you see that you're spending a lot of time in that thing, oh, if only that person hadn't done this to me. If only this relationship had worked out, I can't even talk to them anymore. I can't. And that's where you're at. Change a little bit. Okay. I know that's one I'm going to be working on. Okay.
Joel says that we are trying to make ourselves stronger by coming to synagogue.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. That's a really good one, Joel. I think we do find, if I don't know about you, but if I look back at this holy day, we have come together as a community. We feel stronger. I don't know about you guys, but I feel stronger when I'm here sometimes than when, if I'm at home davening. It's great to do, but it's not the same as when you're with the community. And that's why Judaism says certain tefillot, certain prayers have to be done in a minyan. You can't say the Baruch Hu unless you have a minyan. Okay, that's why, rabbis will count or do something and will say ein minyan. There's not a minyan. Okay, Shema is another one that you're supposed to have a minyan with, but you can say 3 words before it, then you can say it publicly. Okay, you can't say mourner's Kaddish without a minyan. That's a kind of obvious one. You need people. When you grieve alone, it's hard. When you grieve within a community, it's good.
There's also, I think, Kaddish in the community is something.
So Cliff said saying Kaddish in a community gives something to the other people as well. So explain that, Cliff.
Because I experienced this often working on Sinai. Somebody would come in and they didn't have a plan for me, so they'd call us guys and say, hey, can you help us out? We would rush down there to the gravesite to say Kaddish. And it gave me something. I'm supporting this process, and it's a communal experience. Yes, of course, there is a mourner.
Excellent. So Cliff said that when he used to work at Mount Sinai, sometimes there wouldn't be enough people to say Kaddish, and he would get called there to say it, and he all got it because he was there supporting. Okay, that's it in an essence to why we're here. It's that what that inner spark of possibility or that inner spark in all of us. Okay. If you've taken my class, my big thing is B'Tselem Elokim. We're all created in the image of God. Every single one of us. You have the same spark like Golda Meir that I do. And those people in our lives that we have difficulty with, sometimes you have to step back and say, they're created in the image of God also. But even more so, what Cliff said, that creates that connection, that support. When you can reach out and even just be there, you don't need to know their story, you don't need to know anything, but your body there saying something, being respectful is very important. Very important. And it connects you not only to the other person, but if you, whatever you call God, okay? Whatever some people call it higher power, some people call it other things. And even if you don't have a name for it, that's also important. When we're at Nila tonight, every individual here, hopefully will be doing their own cheshbon hanefesh with God, but then we're also all going to be connecting together, knowing we're trying to have a shared experience. Please, I think some of you have, yeah?
Joel also says that it's possible that in grieving with others, we can open up a lost grief that is within us.
Yes. Yes. When you grieve, yeah. I don't really, each of us lose people in our lives. Each of us grieve in different ways. We've lost different people, different ages, whatever. But the common is we all have experienced grief. Okay. For kids, it's a little bit different, but most kids can say, yeah, I lost a pet. Or, I lost my toy. That's the way they have to go through the grieving. But when we come together, Joel's right, it opens up what our grief is and helps us. Anne Frank's quote says, how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Okay? And that's not this huge improvement. Okay? What a beautiful quote, and it's Anne Frank. I mean, we all know that, if Anne Frank could say this, yeah, at her age, that we could say it. There's the book, It Always Could Be Worse. Okay. And where you learn it, and we've all experienced that. I did it for myself when I was feeling a pity party. I have a friend that is in a much more dire situation than I am. And I remind myself that I can be here and I can talk and I can get out. That's what it is. So if I can do that, my cheshbon nefesh is I can start to improve the world in any way possible. I'm not talking about going to Israel and creating peace among all the nations. Okay? No one in this room, sorry to tell you, can do that. Okay? But there are ways we can be part of that process. And it differs in many, many ways. It means showing up to vigils. It means if you're a letter writer, if you're that, do that. And it can be as small as, not insignificant, but as small as smiling at somebody along the way. We had a challenge in the Musar Vad that I was in, that for a whole week, every day, at least once, you were to smile at somebody you didn't know. Okay? You had to be safe. Okay? We laughed, and the VOD leader said, I don't want you going into a bad neighborhood and smiling at the first person you see. That's not the thing. And you know what happened? It was like one of those chain reactions. I smiled at a Grubhub delivery guy when they came in, and I said to him, thank you so much. Thank you for being patient and bringing it into my house. You really made it my day. And I hope somebody treats you with that kindness. Well, a couple weeks later, it was the same Grubhub driver, which usually is only happened to me a couple times. And he said, I saw it was this order. I came because I wanted to let you know that I then smiled at so and so and said something, and it was a chain reaction. It's easy. And if you do it yourself, I promise it will put you in a better mood. Okay, that's a simple little thing. Phil?
That's one of the things I do all the time. I don't care if it's a man or a woman, if I'm going in and somebody else is coming, I'll hold the door open, I'll smile, have a great day. And they smile back, and it is contagious. I think a smile is more contagious than almost any other thing that we may do.
Right. And Phil says this is something she does all the time, and that smile is contagious. And it gives hope. Find out the next time you're in a bad mood or kind of in your own world and somebody smiles at you, watch what changes in your head. Okay? And if that's the thing you choose tonight at Cheshbon HaNefesh to say, I'm going to smile more, that's great. You know, Cheshbon HaNefesh tonight is not going to be successful if you say to yourself, you know what, starting tomorrow, I'm going to keep kosher all the time if you've never kept kosher. Okay? Or you're going to say to me, you know what, I'm going to go home and make my house kosher in the next week. Chances are that's not going to work. Okay? But if you say to yourself, you know what, maybe once or twice this week, I'm going to say hamotzi before I eat or do some sort of gratitude. One of my study partners, she had trouble with the hamotzi, so she rewrote it, kind of gratitude for the food, and it helped her work into being able to say hamotzi. Okay? Once or twice a week, you'll find you do it. If you're in my class, you know this one. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is be grateful. You say the moda ani or modeh ani, and it will start your day off a little bit better. Neil.
Each one of those things you're listing, mitzvot.
Exactly.
And you're supposed to do mitzvot every day.
Excellent. So Neil said each one of the things I've been listing are mitzvot, and you're supposed to do mitzvot every single day. And after the discussion we had, I think it was second day, you know, there are mitzvot. You can light the candles. That's a mitzvah. There are other mitzvot where it comes from our heart, our kavanah, our intention needs to be there. So that's really, really important. So I just want, okay, so I have time for this. So the last quote I have is, and this, I know, this one needs explaining. So this is from Rabbi Gervis in the Musar Institute. He quotes Rabbi Wolbe, and it's not Wolbe, it's Wolbe. The most dangerous stage in spaceflight is the re-entry into the atmosphere. If the spaceship does not enter the atmosphere at a precise angle, it is in danger of burning up from the intense friction in the air. Okay. What? No, actually, I think I'm so bad on dates, but I think he may have been before it really got common. Okay. But I could be wrong. He could be right now. But what is it taking from that? What do you take from that? Why would I put it, Andrea?
I think it's just what you said before. Try to pile on everything now. You're in danger of not have to go to them. Your mitzvot should be your own time and not that you want to do them all.
Excellent. So Andrea said that it's talking about the piling on of the mitzvot, trying to do everything at once. You're in danger of not doing it. Miriam. Wow. All right.
The opposite is the tiniest little thing. good or disastrous?
Ooh, excellent, Miriam. So even the tiniest little thing could either be really good or disastrous. Like Rabbi Goldstein kind of talked about when he was doing the strong things, the things that are strong. You know, wine here, when we say kiddush or a little cup, is a good thing. If we that choice, well, okay, that one glass of wine felt good. Let's see what two feels like. And then three, that could be disastrous. That's part of it. Anything else with this? Why? Any of you that are parents or no kids, if you sent them away to summer camp, okay, especially a Jewish summer camp, or if you yourself went to a Jewish summer camp, it's so much fun. The kid comes back, and at least for me, I would look around my house when I came back and feel that I came from outer space, okay? Because I was in this intense environment, Camp Ramah, you pray, you speak Hebrew, you're doing plays in Hebrew, everything, and you come back, and my house was wonderful. We had Friday night dinners, we did stuff. I went to Hebrew school, but it wasn't the same. There wasn't a transition. That one little thing. I know many kids that went to summer camp that came back one year and said, it doesn't change anything, so I'm never going to do anything again. What happened? Oh, yeah, Mark?
And Joe says it's like us approaching Yom Kippur. Even around hot space can set us afire.
Woo! Being in the can set off the, yeah. If you, Joel. Okay. You are a teacher's dream sometimes, most of the time. Sometimes you're too deep for me, but this time you're good. If you don't come to Yom Kippur with the right mindset, if you come here this afternoon and sit there and expect Rabbi Goldstein to make your afternoon and Ne'ilah experience successful, it ain't gonna work. It's here. And if you sit here this afternoon and think about anything else but this cheshbon hanefesh and how are you going to change and allow yourself to change, you're going to say, wow, I hated Yom Kippur.
You run the risk of overwhelming yourself.
Okay, that's the next piece. Neil said, but you run the risk of overwhelming yourself. And that's the reason behind Rav Wolpe's quote.
And the other way I look at it is the final step is the hardest, first necessary, but the final step before reaching your goal. In space flight, you have to launch, time and space, you have the re-entry and the passion of the so the last space is the most treacherous because if you don't do it right, you won't.
Excellent. So I'm going to summarize. He said it much more eloquently than I'm going to say it, but in the final step for space, when you're coming back, is the most dangerous and the most important. If you don't, you have the beginning of everything, but if you don't do that last step right, you will crash and there will be dire consequences.
Because they usually say the first step is the hardest.
Yeah.
But on Yom Kippur and in Judaism, the last step is the hardest.
Excellent.
You've started by coming here. You've started by doing mitzvot. You've started, but the final step, whatever that may be, is the hardest.
Right. And Neil, you're getting a lot of like, okay, I call those my aha moments. It is. You've done all the things that will lead it. Now, what are you going to do besides once that shofar's blowing, eat? Okay. And think about that. When you wake up tomorrow morning, how are you going to be a little bit different with cheshbon hanefesh? How are you not, and I'll speak per se, how are you not going to wake up in the way I woke up this morning with, I could have listed every single thing that's wrong with me. If you asked me, I could have sat down with Neil when I came to services and said, Neil, could you get out a pencil and get 20 pages of paper. Okay. And my goal for Hashbod Nefesh is that tomorrow, and it's just tomorrow. I'm not saying for the rest of my life. I can wake up and say, okay, I acknowledge these things are here, but I want to focus on this. I want tomorrow that I do X, and it has to be small. I'm not going to come clean your house, Miriam. Okay. I can't even do my own, but not going to do all of that. But how am I going to be different in here? Is it the words that I speak? I'm working with a friend. We both have a goal together on sharing emails before we send them. Okay. That we have to run them by each other, especially if they could be volatile. Because both of us, he's big attitude, just bleh. Okay. So we've made that just for this next week. Okay. Find that works, because if you do it the wrong way, it could be disastrous. So I'm going to end today, right? I have time? Yes. Okay. So this story actually came from a study session. And this is the importance of also letting of the tshuva that we've talked about, of returning, of saying you're sorry, of not holding grudges. So this story came from somebody, Dr. Finkelstein's brother. Dr. Finkelstein, if you kind of remember that name, was the chancellor of JTS. And he was the one that brought Abraham Joshua Heschel to JTS. So their father was a rabbi who, surprise, surprise, I'm glad you're all sitting down, quarreled with the chazan, with the cantor. Okay? In this case, it tore up the congregation and escalated until the synagogue decided that both had to leave. Years later, their father was at a different pulpit. And lo and behold, the chazan was now retired. He was a member there. The rabbi and the chazan, they never spoke, even though they passed each other in shul all the time. There was not even a greeting or word. The children of Rabbi Finkelstein's, their mother, his wife, died. The brothers were worried about how their father would handle and even survive this huge loss, particularly once Shiva ended and people were no longer coming. Okay, and we've all experienced that. So one day, not long after Shiva ended, the kids came home, the grown kids, and saw their father excited. Their father says, "Do you know who came to see me today? It was the chazan." And the kids thought that after years of stony silence, the children were kind of surprised. Like, they asked, "What did he say?" "He said to me," the rabbi said, "Reb Shimon," and I can't read the Yiddish, but the English is, "We are both already at the Nila stage of our lives. We are both closer to the end than to the beginning. No, let's make up." And they did. From that day on, till the day that Rabbi Finkelstein died, the two of them played chess together every single afternoon. We have those people in our lives. I'm not saying you need to do it with everybody, but think about that. They didn't go into an explanation. They didn't say, well, when I did this, you did that. When you did this, I did that. They just said, let's forgive each other. Let's just move on. And playing chess, I imagine you really have to kind of like that person or interact with that person in a more positive manner. And they did that. Isn't that wonderful? Okay. And we're all in the ne'ilah of our lives. Okay. if you think about it, and I try not to, but it's part of what we talk about sometimes. Most of us are closer to we have less years unless we live to 120. Okay, I keep, Brenda at Esther and Josh's wedding, we signed a ketubah, and the ketubah said, may you live to 120, or this goes in for 120. So I tease Brenda every couple days, 120, 120. Okay. But if you think about that, is that we want to spend these years we have left without this all mishigas in our head. Okay. And make better choices along the way. We have hope. It makes room for hope. So I challenge you. Ooh, I did pretty good. I challenge you all to start thinking in Mincha, and as we go through martyrology, and then when we come to Ne'ilah, what am I going to think about Ne'ilah? When the gates are closing, I put in here, I think 3 things in my notes. I'll be happy with one thing. Think of one thing, but don't come to me and say, I found 10 things I can change. Because I'm going to look at you and say, whittle it down to 3. And I hope that not only do you take Ne'ilah and the rest of Yom Kippur as your responsibility, but to be part of our community. And what can you do? When we have services, come to services wanting an experience, not expecting somebody else to change. Okay? Because we all know that Rabbi Goldstein's going to be phenomenal, and he's in the room. Okay? He'll be phenomenal, and we won't even have to be moved by our own thoughts, but let's bring our own thoughts to it. Okay?
By saying that justice is strategic, and it's important not to move for a sense of retribution.
Right. Retribution gets us in ways. It's important not to think about retribution. You can think about it in your mind, okay? Because you're not human if sometimes you don't have those thoughts, okay? Like, I wish, so-and-so and so, especially those of you that may have been married for more than 10 years, it's not always wonderful thoughts you have, okay? But you're not going to act on them. Brenda.
And when you were talking about forgiveness at the end, my mother-in-law and I didn't get along for a long time. And she was really bitter and said mean things and was really nasty. But in the end, it got to be that there was a little change, and I got to be able to talk civilly with her, but I got to forgive her. And that's important because when she did pass away, I did not hate her any longer. And to me, it made me feel good. And that's the important part because time is not forever. You never know what's going to be tomorrow. As I said, just tell people you love them.
Right.
And forgiveness is going to make you feel better.
Right. And so Brenda told us a story about how she and her mother-in-law did not have a great relationship, but in the end, Brenda understood, forgave her, and it also made her feel better. You can't undo something sometimes, and it's good. And every day, if you can, say to a person, I love you. Okay. I used to get teased all the time because I hang up the phone and I say, I love you to people. Because when you lose somebody and you can't say that, the next day it's really hard. And it doesn't mean I love you like, I want intimately and everything. It's just a way to let you know that person that you care. Okay. So, and it's part of that tikva and that hope. So please, with your cheshbon hanefesh, lower, like we talked about earlier with Rabbi Goldstein said, the good, remember the good memories, create good memories so people will look at you. You know, you want to be that person where the eulogy really is true. Not that person where the rabbi is trying to find something nice to say and it says he had a good name. Okay, something like you want to be that one that people say, I really, really remember when they did this, this, and this. Okay? So, Gemar Tov, please on live stream, come back or stay on for Mincha and Ne'ilah. And thank you for coming.